Hey there, everyone. Welcome to the live stream. So good to have you this evening. I have to apologize first off this evening that I completely missed the first live stream of the year, the new year. What a way to start 2022, huh? On the 3rd, which was last Monday night, I totally just blanked out. I don't know why I missed it. I don't know why I forgot to even plan it, but I am back. We are in the saddle and we're kicking off a brand new year. I want to say welcome no matter where you are joining from, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, um, Twitch, etc. Glad to have you in the room. This year, we are going to continue to push the limits, the boundaries of my skill, and I am going to continue to expand my ability, hopefully, in a very targeted, strategic way. And I'll talk more about that process as we go through the year and as I get more clear on what it is I want to learn. But I definitely want to go beyond the tutorials on YouTube. They're great and they're helpful, but I want to augment that and add to that by expanding my study of this art or of this skill. And I also want to um, develop more of the more variety, I guess, in the subject matter that I attempt and that I paint. So, all right, let's see. Let's get started this evening. I will put up here. Let me switch over. Whoops. Nope, that's where I want to go. I want to put that there. I wonder how oh no, that isn't what I want to do. So, if you will allow me, I think something happened with the feed to Facebook, and I am not live on Facebook, I don't think. So if you'll bear with me just a minute, I'm going to go over just to make sure we're live on YouTube, because I'm assuming I'm live, but I do want to make sure that I'm live. Otherwise, I'll just be painting by myself, which is fine. But the whole point of doing a live stream is to be live. So, okay, come on, load. My computer slows way down when I am live streaming. So, I need to, it takes a while to load up. So, if I go to my, in the meantime, let me put up what we are going to be painting this evening. You can probably see it to my side. Hey there, Lola. All right, I know because Lola is here that it's live on YouTube, but it is not live on my Facebook. So if you'll bear with me, I am going to pull that link and cross-post it to Facebook just so that the people who join on Facebook can see the link. If this page will ever load, my computer's being a little slow. All right, we got the link. Let's close down some of this because my poor computer. Okay, telling everybody that I'm not live on Facebook, but they can join on YouTube if they would like to. So hopefully that will, I know Facebook's algorithm will basically punish me for posting a YouTube link on Facebook, but that at least gives us a chance. Okay. Back to business, y'all. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to work on this rose. As I said, one of the things that I want to do this year is to continue to push the boundaries of my skill. And you'll notice, or you'll know perhaps, that flowers are a challenge for me, particularly flowers that are this color. So why not dive right into something that is challenging? And try this out. So that's what we're going to be doing this evening. Did I stream last week? No, Lola. At the very top of the stream, I, for some reason, completely blanked out the first stream of the year. I completely missed it. I don't know what happened. I do know what happened. I got a message from somebody here in town that said there's a city council meeting, and I live on Main Street, and City Hall is like a block up from me, and they were discussing something about which I was interested, and so somebody said, hey, you can walk up and go to this thing. And I'd been out on the trails that afternoon and hiked and just completely spaced it. But all those are excuses, but we're back in the saddle now, so we are going to jump right in. So that said, let's jump into this rose painting. I did pre-treat my canvas, or pre-tone my canvas with kind of a brownish color. So let me pull you all close here so you can take a look, and I'll lower my camera so you have a little bit better look. And what I really want to do with this painting, one of the things I learned this week that is, I think, a challenge that I realize is I've been working on the painting we did a couple weeks ago that was kind of a snowy painting, and I've repainted it a couple times and I've struggled with it, but I'm continuing to paint. And one of the challenges I think that is a natural weakness, perhaps of all new artists, but I'm recognizing that the blend between light shadow, I've talked about that a lot, but that in-between zone of the mid-tones is something that I don't think that I have paid enough attention to. It wasn't something that was really brought to my attention as I've been developing my skills. And so it really has hampered, I think, my painting over the last several months. But it's something that I kind of want to be more mindful of and focus on. So that being said, I really want to kind of see what am I trying to say? I really want to see what I can do if I take that intent. So, and one of the things that I want to do tonight on this painting is to be really much more loose and less photorealist. In the past, I've tried to paint flowers very realistically, and I really want to not do that. So let's see. One of the things I'm going to try to be mindful of tonight is the number of brush strokes, and do. So I'm just kind of going to give some boundaries to this with a dark shadow, which will end up being our background. But I'm just going to go in with the darkest background here. I blanked out too. I forgot to watch until after 10. I'm glad I'm not the only one. Maybe it was just getting the new year started and everybody was so busy, I'm sure, around the holidays, or at least pressured around the holidays, that it just kind of, yeah. Who knows? So I am going to just do big shapes, trying to block in this kind of central spot of the flower. Welcome, welcome to those of you that are joining a little late. I know that the live stream did not post over to Facebook, so some of the people that usually jump in from Facebook aren't seeing the live stream unless they jump over to YouTube. So typically those are friends and family, so that's a challenge, but glad to have you all here. Okay. Okay, now we kind of have a framework around which to plan our composition. So we'll just kind of put some rest of this dark shadow color around this if we can. All right. You know what I did not do, which I need to do because I'm wearing, often, you all can't see this, but often, especially in the cold, I am in very comfy kind of jersey pants, but I went out today and didn't actually go get out on the trail, although it was 50 degrees Fahrenheit, so I should have been out on the trail today. I did sit out on my patio. It was beautiful. Since we have dry air, once the sun comes out, even at 50, it feels warm, fairly warm. I was just out with a light jacket or kind of sweatshirt, but I didn't put on my kind of bib apron to protect I'm wearing actual pants. I don't want paint on. I mean, I don't want paint on kind of my pajama pants, but all right, that's more information than you all care about probably, but okay. Let's go in and let's see where our darkest darks are going to be. Kind of plan that out. The darkest darks, of course, are going to be the background, but in this painting, we're going to have, let me lighten this just a tad actually. Notice I'm doing this all in monochromatic tones again, because I really want to try to get the values right, because like I said, the color can come later, and the flowers are really difficult. And I'm using a fairly big brush, probably an inch and a half brush, or inch and a quarter. So, I lightened that up really light, didn't I? Let's take that back down if we can. We might have to remix, because that was supposed to be, yeah, maybe still really light. Let's adjust. Now notice we can take the dark up here and make it the light down here. On these petals. We'll see how that works. Now let's look at our areas of the brightest lights. And let's go the opposite direction. Let's try to put in our darkest darks and our lightest lights, because that will really help us to then hopefully work. I was talking about midtones. It's going to help us then to be able to hopefully fill in the colors and the values more correctly. So let's take some white and just bring a little bit of this over so that it's still in the family, but it's a really bright brown, light brown. Let's go in where, even though this is our lightest light, it's still not the lightest tone we can go. So let's go and put in, I think the lightest lights are going to be over here on this petal. And the edge of this petal. And the edge of this petal. At least that's how I see it right now, with big, just big parts. And maybe the edge of that. But that will still be relatively okay. Y'all, so we have our lights and our darks. Now, let's go back and not look at the flower too much. Let's go back to our background while we have these colors on the palette. And let's put some more background in. That will give us a opportunity to kind of step away from the looking at the flower, because otherwise I've noticed that I end up overpainting. Okay, I have quite a bit of blue in this, so we'll take some more brown and mix it in. Because what I want in the background is not as much jet black like it is in the reference photo, but I kind of want a variety of that shows the brush strokes and the brush work. And so we'll start building that up layer by layer. And one way to do that, particularly with acrylics, I think, is with a variety of color tones because then the light will catch those color tones a little bit different, and they're multi-layered. Looks more green there. But I think we're going in the right direction because I see a flower starting to emerge, even just using broad light and shadows. I can already tell what it's like. So let me turn my light off so you can see more what I'm looking at. That's a little more accurate to what I'm looking at. Eventually, I'm going to get my studio set up where the cameras or I have good enough cameras that don't compensate for the color and don't adjust, so I can set the color tone so hopefully you will see it more accurately. That's my goal. But yeah, anyway. Okay, so now we need to bring some of this in and really try to, this is my weakness, I think. One of my weaknesses is how do we bring in, essentially we have almost a monochromatic flower. I'm doing it in brown, but there's a subtle shift from brown to kind of peach. And so let me try to put midtones on here and see if we get any shape. That's the hard part for me, because I'm not as good at kind of seeing midtones and variations of midtones. I probably need to do a lot more work with like color gradients. I imagine that might help. But yeah, just telling you. Y'all, so I know we're painting a flower, but I learned something about painting snow and ice this week. I've struggled to paint snow because that's, you know, it's just white. But I learned that snow, when you're painting it, actually, if it's more translucent, you can go more blue tones, kind of a phthalo blue tone. And let's see, there's like a lighter, oh, this is this part, I think. Yeah, you can go blue and then the shadows are more purple hues. So you go, if it's reflecting the sky, it goes more blue. If it's less reflecting, it comes more, obviously more towards the white end of things, but really kind of fascinating little tricks. So I can't wait to work on my painting of snow again and just introduce some kind of blues and purples and see how that changes the painting and the perception of the painting. So let's see. Okay, now I need to figure out, okay, there's another tone. So I like that for this petal, this petal, the edge of this petal. So difficult to get this right, y'all. Maybe even lighter areas of this. So this is a good example of what I want to work on. We have our lights and our darks, and I really want to get proficient at how I see and execute the tones in betweens and the gradient between, because I think that's going to end up being the game changer, or one of the game changers for me when it comes to, you know, improving, because I think it's definitely a weakness right now. So now I'm just adjusting. Trying to adjust my values as I go. That's all the rest of this game is going to be. How do we adjust the values so that they read correctly? But we're getting there, I think, a little bit. What do you guys think? It is slowly coming together. Let me turn off the... You can kind of see it start to come together. And that's solely because I'm hopefully getting these correct, or relatively correct. Now, That's still tacky. Now I don't want to paint wet on wet very much, so I'm kind of waiting a little bit to do too much, but I think we can. I can work on this, kind of refining some of this, because I want to keep this same. See, I brought up the. So this is going to read, because everything around it's going to read the brightest part of the light. I really want to establish those bright spots. But if I go too much, like I overpainted even there a little bit, thank you. Let's see. Whoops. Now, while I'm sitting here, I'll cross promote. If you're interested in my vlog, I posted a video this morning that's a walk in Winter Wonderland, as well as I took down my Christmas decorations this week. But I took y'all with me on a hike. This last week we had bitter cold. I think one day the high was -4 degrees Fahrenheit. But then we also had almost 40 degrees in the same week. So on the 40-degree day, I ran out and got a hike out by a stream outside of town. It was beautiful. And so definitely check that out if you're interested in that. Okay, I've started introducing a little chroma here. Chroma meaning intensification of color. I added a little more. It is still brown, but it is the burnt sienna. So I'm slowly seeing if I can bring some of that in here. And give us some color gradients. Again, I have to be careful not to overpaint, because that is my tendency. Once I'm like, ooh, that's working, then I'm like, go gangbusters. And it's like, no, it doesn't need gangbusters. It needs actually some finesse. Oh my goodness. Well, I see the bots have found us, y'all. Let me go back to... Somehow, we were so good for so long, then somehow they found us. So, what I'll do is go in and block them. If you'll bear with me here just a minute. All right, that's better. Bye-bye bots or trolls or whatever. Okay, I like what is happening here. Now, let me stand back a little bit and say what is needed. So I think that kind of, let me introduce a little blue to cool down the color. I'm not sure if this will work the way I want, but I think it's still going to be too bright. Now, if I can refine this without losing the values I've set down, I'm not unhappy with what I have so far. If that makes sense. Like, it's starting to come together. It's recognizable as what it is, but so notice what I'm doing down here. I'm putting, even though this is the lightest part of a petal, I'm putting some of this cooler tone down here because this area is in shadow. So I'm going to do less detail down here and more cooler tones. It's darker. I've added more dark. So that hopefully will give us that feeling of shadow down here. Now I'm going to have to adjust those petals because these are giant, kind of sticking out, but maybe not. Maybe that'll work. We'll see. By putting the cool tone against the warm tone there, see, this is the blue. It really shows on your screen, the blue and the kind of red. Now it'll look strange because there's no blending, but when we blend it, hopefully it will start to give us more variation in the petals and not be as stark. That's the challenge I have, is to keep it, not blend it too much, because then it starts to just be all one blob again. So this is what we're going to work on over the next few minutes to try to see if we can do this. But I think we have a map for the values that I like. I think the map is, or the prototype, so to speak, is good. Now maybe we start adding a little of that peachy color. So, however, first I want to go back to the background, kind of back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So we're going to take that dark again, dark blue and brown, as dark as we can get it. And let's go in here and just kind of, I'm just doing different brush strokes, different directions, so that that texture over time will show up and hopefully lend interest to the background. Right now I'm just trying to get, there's some spots that are showing the underpainting, and I want to make sure that all of it is covered as much as possible so that as we do more work on the background, it becomes more yeah, it becomes more interesting and varied. Running late, was watching your walk in the snow. Wish I could have been there to join you, by the way. Yeah, the hot chocolate, I had to add an extra scoop because I had a much taller tumbler than a normal mug. But believe me, it was a cold enough day. It was needed. It was a wonderful walk and a great time. The cool thing is that the weather has been beautiful. Bob, before you got here, I was telling everybody that the weather here today was close to 50. So I sat out on my patio and for a bit and enjoyed the fresh air. I even opened the windows and doors a little bit to let some fresh air in the house. It's so bizarre to me how different 50 felt or feels down in Little Rock versus here with the dry versus humid air. 50 in the sun here is a completely different world. So definitely took advantage of that today. So it was fun, but all right, we're starting to get a consistent cover on the background that I like. So this will be good. A good foundation. Then we'll let that dry. We'll go back to the flower a little bit. But just putting some really additional like dark around there makes the flower stand out, doesn't it? So it's coming together, coming together. Now, if we go back to the flower, let me turn off the so y'all can see. Okay, so this is kind of what we have. That's kind of what I'm looking at, more or less. What I want to do before I start going into color is I want to recommit or re-establish some of those shadow areas, some of those values. And so I'm going to take, we already have this dark color, but I'm going to take a little of the burnt sienna into it because that's kind of the red tone. I'm going to see what happens if I take this into, like, we've lost a lot of, this is a dark shadow and there's some in here, but we've kind of lost some of this. So I want to really, now notice my brush strokes being they're not super precise. I mean, I'm being intentional, but I am, the brush is still the large brush. So I'm not doing detail because I really want that feel that it's just the loose, I want the loose brush strokes. So it's not quite what I'm going for, but because now it's looking very red. So let me bring a little blue in, a little more blue to cut some of that, cool it down. But I don't want it cold. So let's see if we can take this into the center. Oh, that's much more cold. So let's see what happens. This is all trial and error. As you know, that's what we do, right? So let me take a little more red into this. Bring up here. We're going to have some kind of, that may be too dark, but it'll give us somewhere to work from. Reestablishing some of these shadow areas. Now my values are pretty off at this point. These are much too dark compared to what's around it, but it's typically easier to lighten up often than it is to go dark. So I'm kind of putting those harsh lines in again because I know they're gonna, as soon as I start blending and things, it's gonna be like, boop, there they are. So I really wanted to put the dark lines in, but now it's just cold. Oh, up in Michigan? Yes. I bet what we had made its way across to you guys, Lola, because I saw the Twin Cities had really cold weather like we did, like single digits and negative temps. So I imagine all across the northern United States is dealing with that. Okay, now what I think I want to do is start to introduce color. So what do I do first? I want the peach, like I don't want it to be orange. I struggle with how to mix this kind of peach color, but I guess I just need to jump in. Let me do, because red is such a strong color. Crimson and a brilliant red, and let's see, if I'm going to do yellow, let me put in some yellow ochre so it's more of a brown tone. I do have some orange. I'm just putting all of this out just so I can kind of play with it a little bit and see what happens. Let's see. Now I think I'm going to set aside that brush and do some, I think I'm going to go to my kind of 1/2 inch maybe filbert that's kind of worn down. Let me kind of go here, and I'm going to take the same approach but with color. So this time I'm going to start by trying to articulate or render our lightest lights and then go back to our darkest darks. So I'm taking some white and some yellow ochre, and so it's like going to really diffuse that yellow, and we'll go in and it will be like, ugh, probably. This is my guess. Maybe a little orange. Yeah, let's put a little orange in there just so we get a little peachy color. Let's try to define our brightest brights color-wise. Right across here. This is really yellow, huh? So let's see. I think I'm making a mistake. I'm overpainting again. So let me stop. That's that looks very white on your screen. There, it's kind of that peachy yellow. So, I want to come, I don't know though, because this is, even though on the photograph it looks the same, this highlight looks the same as these up here, I don't want it to render that way. I want this to be in shadow. I want the eye to go up here. So we have to adjust. I'm putting a little blue and brown back into this color. It's still going to come across as really light, which is good because I want it to read like there's still sunlight there, but I want it to be less, not as, maybe that's how we do these that are in the light. Now that worked, so I'm going to take it even a little bit darker over here, but still the same kind of color for under here. I think that's going to be too much red. But we'll see. Everything is an education. Every time you step up to the, every time I step up to the easel, the playing field, as it were, is an education. Now this to me is reading as the bulb of the bud, which I don't want it to. See, it's now too dark. So I want to lighten that a little bit because we've put light around it, so now it looks way too dark. I want it to be the shadow, but I want it to be the shadow of this. So I think this is too light, but we'll see once we get it on what it, yeah, it's probably, but it could be good here. Again, remember, it's this constant adjustment of that we're playing with of values and color now. Probably gonna have to switch out my plates pretty soon because getting, so I said at the top of the live stream that I am focused this year on, I really want to improve my skill, which I was doing last year, but one of the ways that I plan to do that, so let me just kind of fill you in as I make some slight adjustments to the Shadowlands here, is I want to actually go through the same process I did at the very beginning, where I want to kind of take the, I want not to do tutorials. When I first started, I was mimicking tutorials on YouTube, but now I really want to go in and look at some of the masters, some of the works the masters have done, and do studies essentially of those paintings. And so I probably won't be able to do that on live stream because I don't know what the law is about those things. But I think you can, but I just don't want to get in any. It's not worth it to that. But one of the things I will be doing is trying a variety of different styles, a variety of different masters across different time periods in art history, which I think will be really advantageous as I try to improve my skills. So we'll see. Oh, that's coming really red. Okay, well, we'll adjust that. But, okay. I started my process and then I kind of backed away from it. So let me see if I can salvage this. Not sure. You can definitely tell I don't know what I'm doing. Because I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. Let me take a process photo real quick. Okay. I think now I need to really think about this and look at kind of, oh, whoops. I just lost all of my, you lost all my cameras except for my computer camera. There, we should plug back in pretty soon. Okay, there we are. Da-da-da. I can't move my computer midstream. Okay, let's try this. Y'all are getting the, supposed to be getting better at this in the new year, but definitely not. I was gonna try to put my other plate up here so it's more accessible. There we go. All right, just switching out palette plates. Okay, let's look at what is working and what is not. And let me put my, okay. Let me step back and say what's working. Generally, okay, what's working right now is, you can tell it's a rose. That's about it. So there's not a lot working for me right now because I introduced color, which you have to do eventually. But what do y'all think this is there? What is working for you, or what do you think is working in this photo or this painting? What is working? And the next question is what is not? Sometimes it's easier to answer the not. What is not working? Okay, trying to mix kind of a mid-tone and a light. A lighter. Trying to get several gradients of this peachy color. Okay. It's a good base, yeah. Now I need to figure out how I build on that base. That's going to be the challenge. Okay. So we have kind of a... You like the lights. Okay, that's good. So, because that's kind of where I was going to work, is defining really these mid-tone areas, because I put that red in there and it's just not working. I really want that to be where the eye is, so let me lighten that even more. Take a little. Need some yellow. Some orange. One of the other challenges with this color palette is that these colors are so translucent that they just don't cover as significantly. I think I want to emphasize, I actually want to de-emphasize this now that I'm thinking about it in these. So these petals, this is the lightest part, one of the lightest parts in the reference, but I think I actually want to make the heart of the rose some of the lightest areas. So I'm going to emphasize that there, I think, because I want the eye to come up here and then these to be more shadowed. I just kind of, not just decided that, but I think that's what I want to do. Now I need to figure out how to do it. Okay. Let me turn off the light so you can see kind of what I'm doing. So I'm doing very slight gradients within that color scheme. Now we'll go over here into this kind of darker area. We'll darken it down. Put some of the yellow ochre on here. Okay, we want still that same kind of peachy tone, but we want it darker. So let's see, that may be too dark because I want to come over here. I want this, but like the next tone down. So that's really, might have to cool that down a little bit, but okay. Adding a little blue here gives us that kind of shadow color. It cools down the reds, the yellows. So we can still have then we can use that for highlights over here that are in the shadows because we want that less prominent, I guess. One of the things I like that's strange, or not strange, but like interesting to me about painting is how much thinking goes into it. And essentially, as you gain experience, it's less trial and error, depending, like in different environments. But like, yeah, it's just a really fascinating pursuit that is, I mean, it's really fun. Like, I enjoy it so much, but it's also like, I still feel like I just don't know what I'm doing at all, which is a good place to be in some regard. Constantly trying to, and I say, oh, I want to improve in this, but it's like, okay, how do I actually do that? That's, I guess, why people go to art school, right? Because then you can have a teacher tell you. But I'm the type of learner, also, I know this about myself. Like, I could sit in art school and have a teacher say, this is how you do it, show me how to do it, and it would be fine. But I also, like, there's something about learning to do it by doing it that is valuable to me. Because if a teacher shows me how to do it, I'm going to do it how they do it instead of kind of discovering my own path. So that's one of the reasons why, I mean, it's helpful, like when I watch a YouTube lecture or video and someone gives me good information, but it's really helpful because I'm watching and not trying to go create, or I'm not working on a painting at the time. Like if you're in a classroom and the teacher's like, okay, everybody get your canvas out or your sketch pad or whatever, and everybody's gonna work on this particular subject. and then they're giving you that, it's a little different because in this, I have to process what I'm learning on YouTube and then go apply it in my own, to my own subject matter and my own experience. So anyway, that's a ramble, but it is kind of what's going on in my head at the moment. The cool thing is, the more you do it, I read something today. It was like a motivational quote, not about art, but it quoted, and I don't know if this is true. You know, everything you read on the internet's so true these days. But supposedly, Picasso supposedly painted like 50,000, or maybe it was 10,000, but thousands, tens of thousands of works, or drew them, created. But we know, or we esteem, about 100 of those. So the point was, yes, Picasso was maybe a genius, maybe not, depending on your definition of genius and what you value in art. But the fact is, he painted a lot, or he drew a lot, he created a lot, and it's a numbers game. If you create 10,000 paintings or drawings, the chance that 1 or 2 or 10 of those are going to be what we would say masterpiece level is pretty high. So I thought that was really interesting. Really interesting. But it made me also aware of how little time I spend in the studio comparatively. And I was like, oh, I need to get my behind into the studio more, because it's really easy to end up in front of the TV with Netflix. And okay, there we are. Now let's see what this is. What is working? It's working a little bit better for me right now, but still a little all over the place. Okay, let's see. I always have to step back and say, what's working? Okay, let me put y'all more straight on so you can kind of see what I'm looking at. Whoops. Then maybe. So I think we're starting to get what I want here, where this will be the center of the, draw the eye in. I think I even want to even more so de-emphasize this and this, but I'm not sure exactly. I think I do want to do some, we'll see. I'm not sure. I'm just not sure. Okay. Since I'm standing up, let me see if I can maybe that will help. That's a little better for your viewing pleasure, ladies and gents. All right, let's see if we can pull this one closer to home in the next 10, 15, 20 minutes. All right, so what I think I want to do, again, is go back, establish my lights based on where I want the light to be. See if I can do that. Okay, so I'm mixing a fairly light reddish, yellow, peachy something here. Let's see. It's still fairly dark, but I want to come up here. I really want this, I think, section to be where the light, I want this to be the highlight. So let's go there, and then let me take some white into that immediately to try to carve that out. Because if I can get that correct, then I feel like I have the rest, I kind of know what to do with. Okay. Now, so we have some beginnings of yeah, that'll have to go. Okay. Lights. Now, because I want to de-emphasize this, I do want to go that same color, the opposite direction. I want to put some brown. Ooh, that's really dark. That's going to be dark, dark purple. It's not quite what I wanted to do. So let's bring it back, if we can, to more brownish. Okay, so now, oops, let's see if I can have kind of a purple color. So can I get more precise about Then we'll take this purple color up into here. Might need to be a little bit lighter, but it's kind of, we're defusing it with the blue, kind of just sinking those back into shadow. Maybe that's what will happen. We'll see. That's the goal. Maybe too purple. May need. That's kind of working, but I think I want it even more blue, brown. That blue, by adding the blue, it really dulls down that red orange color and brings in cooler tones, which hopefully allow the brights to pop more. But we'll see. We adjust and we go. Okay. Hi, Jasmine. So good to see you. Happy New Year to you and yours. Hope it's going well. Okay, so we definitely have set out the lights and darks. And I think I like what's happening with the lights here. So now what I'm trying to do is take this color here on my palette as kind of a mid-tone between the dark and the light. That's what I was talking about earlier, where I want to, at the top of the live stream, I want to get more proficient at this kind of gradient between light and dark, because I think that is really important. Otherwise, it's just like, bam, you know, big, heavy strokes, and there's not, because that's not how it is in nature or in life. So that softens that a little bit, but now it's starting to look blobby again. So I need to kind of remedy that. There's an artist on Instagram that does these kind of paintings, floral paintings, and he's just brilliant. And it's like, man, how does I mean, he does very few, like they're not very defined strokes, but it's just, it comes out just looking really so special. And it's like, man, how does that happen? Obviously, years of or significant time of practice, but it's really inspiring, but also frustrating because it's like, man, I want to do that, but gotta put in those hours, right? Got to put in those hours. Okay. I'm hearing the wind outside pick up. I'm kind of, and you can always tell when I'm starting to get to that point in the painting where I'm thinking too hard. You can almost hear my brain cells laboring under the effort. One of the things I know that works, that is important, is fairly sharp edges between your shadows and the petals. You need the, and now it's just looking like blob of dark, but keep playing this game back and forth, don't I? Lights and darks, lights and darks. Well, there goes another bot. Ugh, so frustrating. Well, I said at the beginning of this, the reason I was doing it was because I'm not very good at it. And I still feel like I haven't cracked the code. I keep going back and forth, and it's still, I just can't get it to work for me. Eventually, I think there's just something I'm missing, some insight or skill or something that I'm missing that is that will click into place someday in the future. I just have to keep going, not get too frustrated. But it is definitely frustrating not to be able to be like, what am I missing? Because I know, I mean, I've seen artists that do 3 or 4 loose strokes and it's just a beautiful rose. Like maybe not 3 or 4, maybe 6 or 8 or 10, but like they just, I'm fairly confident that it's getting the light and shadow in the right place and the right balance, but I just am not that guy yet. But that's the fun part too. I feel like we're circling back around the block, and I've seen this block before. because I'm basically doing the same exact things. But I don't know how to take it from this to the next level. Like, where does it go? How do I get it there? All that jazz. That's the frustrating part for me, because it's like, okay, I know, like, it looks sort of like a rose, but then, like, it's just not coming together. And I know it's not more detail. One thing I think it is, perhaps, but I just don't know what to do about it, is more different variations of color, like, adding some additional color. Maybe it's brown. Maybe it's adding brown. Let's try it, ladies and gents. Let's try it. Remember at the beginning when I started this journey, I haven't said it in a long time, but maybe I need to start reminding myself. There was a time when I did paintings and I would say, you know what? With the skill I have at this time, this is the best I can do. Remember those days? Maybe that is a good thing to revive from my arsenal, to remind myself, you know what? It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to even be good. For the skill at the level, this is the best I can do, and I am happy with that. Because what I've learned, or what I am learning, is like, I'm just not there yet. And that's okay. Like, I'm still... It's a giant blob, isn't it? It's just at that still, it's kind of stuck. Every painting, we come to that ugly phase before it gets better, and it's there. The bones are good. There's something there, but I'm just not sure what to do next. I'm not sure how to take it out of this messy space and make it what it needs to be, or what it could be. So we may wrap this up for now, and I may keep working offline in the next week or two to try to salvage it. I have a whole pile of paintings. I haven't had much success with paintings lately. None that I'm like, okay, it's done. I have about 6, 7 sitting here that are just like in that in-between zone of, do I abandon this now or do I try to salvage something? And I'm not. I think this one's going in that pile where I try to maybe come back to it and see if I can salvage it. Because I just keep doing the same thing. I just keep going in circles, darks, lights, darks, lights, darks, lights, and it just keeps going. I really wanted to have a breakthrough tonight, but I'm not going to force it because I don't have it. It's not breaking through. I'm not figuring this out. So you all got to see me fail in a rather spectacular way tonight. Although it's not a horrible failure, but it's still not. It's just not going where I want it to go. And I'm not sure how to get it there. So part of me says, just be okay with that. And part of me is like, I need to control outcomes. Probably the less insightful, less healthy part of me. Okay, so there's something funny I have to show you all, humorous, that you all will appreciate. I'm going to take one last picture of this just for posterity's sake. So let me show you something. I'm going to back out. I think we're going to start wrapping up this evening. So we did our best attempt, and it wasn't good enough. At least not for what we wanted it to do. So, but let me show you what's lying here on the floor. If I can reach over there. I have a whole bunch of paintings off camera. Somebody asked, do you ever not have good paintings? And I'm like, there's about 30 canvases over here. Maybe not quite that many, but quite a few that are just no good. So I mentioned that flowers are not my cup of tea. Wouldn't it be funny if someday I end up being known as a floral painter? So we have case in point, most recent. This is, Lola just made a good comment. You all probably all saw it, but sometimes I have to just set it up, look at it for a few days. Yep, that's why I've learned not to fight it. But you can see this is where we're getting tonight. Just off camera is this horrific mess that is, I just tossed it. It's one of those that's like not. I worked on this several weeks, similar, almost similar color. Wait, which way did it go? Yeah, this way. You can tell they're hibiscus, but again, there's no, like, it's very difficult for me apparently to get like a cohesive looking flower. You can see all the different colors, but they're just not, I don't know where to take it. And it's the same issue I'm getting to with this rose. I don't know where to take it from here. So I kind of set those aside. This was the very first one I tried to do, a bowl and a rose. This was back in Little Rock. And for some reason, this rose bud turned out probably the best flower I've done. But the actual rose itself that's open, I can't figure it out. So maybe that's something to think about. Why this one actually looks like a rosebud or a bloom. But it just made me laugh when I looked over there in the pile of, just junk. There were visible 3 or 4 flowers that were kind of abandoned. So, this one, I think we did. No, we didn't do last week. Was this before Christmas? I started working on this snow one. I'm still not satisfied with it. It's pretty, but I've repainted it a couple times. I'm gonna keep working on the snow a little bit. I'm getting more pleased with the mountains in the background, but the trees I'm still not quite happy with. Up close you can see they're just kind of like, I'm just not sure what to do. So this one has been sitting for a few days and I kind of go back and forth to it, but it's a pretty enough setting. It's nice enough, but I think I'm noticing, I think I'm reaching a plateau where I'm like at a certain consistent level. And so I'm not satisfied there. And maybe that's more what's happening than anything, is that I'm not able to move forward because like my skill level, it's before that next breakthrough. But I've had enough of them that I know if I'm consistent, if I keep learning and growing and practicing, that eventually something will click and I'll figure out whether it's a values problem, a color problem, a both, if it's composition, whatever's happening for me that is making me not satisfied, it will click loose and then I'll have another big jump in my skill. So that's the goal, is to keep pushing through the, this one was kind of this is in the pile. I think we did this in the live stream. I don't know. Maybe I just did this on my own, but it's kind of a fun one. It was a good study. But yeah, I don't know. I just need to keep, I'm just rambling now because I'm not very happy with the direction my art is going. So I just got to power through. All that to say, it's real. I am so grateful for all of you joining me. This is the journey. It's not always Bob Ross. Like, it's not perfect. And there's, it's not always just a happy little mistake. When you're learning and growing and figuring things out. So, but that's the fun for me of the live stream, is some weeks we just do something and it clicks, like the lion or some of these others, and then others it just doesn't click. But I'm going to keep pushing and I'm going to keep trying different things. So that said, I want to thank you so much for joining me this evening. Thank you for your support and just hanging out. It's a lot of fun for me to have people to interact with as I paint. Next week, Wednesday, at 6 p.m. Central Time or Mountain Time. I'm so used to being in Central. All my life, I've lived in Central time. This is the first time, well, almost, all my life, pretty much. I've lived in Central Time, and so now this is the first time my time zone has changed. So I'm not used to saying that. But Mountain Time, 6 p.m., 7 p.m. Central, of course, 8 p.m. Eastern. And I will see you next week on the live stream with another painting. In the meantime, be sure to check out the vlog, and I will see you next week. Have a great night, everybody.